2 hours wasted. Actually, more like 4 hours wasted today making a video, and it all went away. Welcome to Vitrify, and in today's video, I'm gonna have to reshoot everything. Anodizing is kind of like giving titanium an electric bath. At least that's the best way I can explain it. It's a very short list of stuff that you're using, but it's a DIY at-home thing you can do. But I'm kind of limited now, so what I was gonna do is show you guys how I did this, so you can see a little better. That's anodizing, and it's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and do a quick little setup, a resetup I should say, and get started with this. First things first, you need a container. Any kind of container that's going to be able to submerge whatever you need to submerge effectively. Because I was anodizing this frame, you see why I got this kind of container. I figured it was deep enough to plunge that piece into it, and it worked just fine. We need a titanium straw, alligator clips, 9-volt batteries, baking soda from your local Dollar Tree, titanium wire, your titanium piece of course. Because I already used that one, I'm gonna be using some titanium screws, and that'll be the gist of what we've done. The same thing we're doing with the screws is how I achieved the same thing with the frame. I think that's pretty much it, but if I left anything out, I'll be sure to leave that here somewhere in the screen. But let me push all this aside real quick and say, hold on, let me look at you, because I know a lot of y'all probably gonna be like me when I say this. Safety is very important. You want to make sure that you have like rubber gloves or some kind of eye protection. Have both, really. I've done this enough that I know what's safe and what's not. And I'm gonna be practicing the same, you know, being safe the same way now as I would any other day. So, yeah, be safe about this. You're working with high voltage batteries right now when you start mixing them together, and I don't want you to injure yourself, so do at your own risk, of course. Let's get back to it. Get some distilled water in your container. What we want to do is get some baking soda and pour some in. Now, I'm just eyeing it. I've done this enough that I think I know a good amount. That's good enough. Once you mix the baking soda inside the container, you want to make sure that the straw is pretty much pinched up on the corner. What I do, because you're going to be using these alligator clips in this experiment, and you want to grasp the straw, but you don't want it moving around in a container while you're dipping the thing that you're trying to change the color of in here. So you want to make sure this is pinched up on an edge if you can. When you're doing this, you're allowing the titanium to build oxidation on the outside, and what it does is it causes the oxidation to change into different colors. So hopefully you can see that. That's all oxidation, and that happens with these electrical baths. By now you do want to wear your safety equipment, so make sure if you have gloves, go ahead and grab your gloves, as well as your eye protection. But for me, like I said, I've done this enough that I'm pretty comfortable with the process here. So I'm gonna take my titanium screws, I'll go ahead and put them over here. The 9-volt batteries, the thing to know about them is 9 times out of 10 they're labeled what side's positive and what side's the negative. So on this one here, you can see that there's a positive indication there. There's no negative on the opposite terminal, but you get it. I'm going to connect the black to the ground here and positive to positive, but first I'm going to connect the titanium wire to the alligator clip here, and I'm just going to go ahead and spin it up on the outside of the wire, just so this piece is kind of holding that piece tight, and then I'm gonna push that down so it keeps it nice and firm. Once I have that, I'm gonna go ahead and take a screw, and this is before I'm connecting it to the battery, so you don't want to connect anything to the battery at this point, except the ground if you want. But again, be careful because everything is live here. I don't think 9 volt will really do much to you, but you know, I don't want you to shock yourself. What I'm gonna do is wrap the titanium wire over the titanium screw like that. And something important is when you dip this into the solution, you don't want this or the wire to touch the titanium straw that's in here or the ground or anything. The positive end, it's hard to grab. The ground is a lot easier because it has flat edges, but the positive is round. So what I do is I approach it by pinching the alligator clip and going straight down into it, so it's holding it securely, and it works pretty well. Now that I have the circuit going, of course you want to be careful, and I'm gonna go ahead and dip this into the solution. Once I'm done with that, I release the power off of the battery, and this is something you're going to do every single time, at least if you're doing what I'm doing. If you are doing batch renders, like if you want to have a whole bunch of titanium screws and you're like, I want to make all of these one color, make sure you grab some kind of mesh, like some kind of loose threaded mesh. Put it inside the container, wrap it around the end with like a rubber band, and then you can dip all the screws inside there and just bathe it inside that little pouch. As for the screw here, it did change. Let me back this camera up just a little bit. There we go. What we're looking at here is kind of like a bronze looking color. That's the first battery, and I'll do close-ups of all of these and provide a little breakdown of how many 9 volts I used to achieve the color. And a rule of thumb is if you want a certain color, always use a battery less, because it's going to vary between density of titanium as well. The more dense, it seems like you need to use more batteries to allow it to change into different colors. Or at least the voltage needs to be at a certain point. I found that the same voltage I'm using on these little small ones is not achieving the same color characteristics as the bigger titanium piece. So that's pretty much the end of that rant. On to the next one. Now that we're done with the individual battery, we want to go ahead and bridge 2 batteries together. And the way to do this, you're gonna connect the ground to the positive. Yes, ground to positive. Just like that. Okay? Now you should have both of these sides showing positive, and then these sides would be negative, of course. And of course you got the different shapes that indicate which is which. This is a very rinse and repeat process. So what I'm gonna do is go through all the different colors, and then I'll provide a close-up, and you can see some of the colors that this develops. You'll notice that with the higher voltage that you're using, it starts sizzling. Like you'll hear a little bit of a pop. It's nothing crazy. It's like a micro pop. It's not even worth mentioning. But I don't want you to be like worried if it happens, so I figured I'd let you know. Now this one has to be one of my favorites, and yes, we're on 2 batteries, and you're already seeing one of my favorite colors, which is purple. This is giving a really nice rich purple. Let me go ahead and disconnect this real quick. On to the third one. Alright, we are now on 3. Of course, the more batteries that you connect to this, the more safe you want to be, right? You don't want to go too crazy with it. So yeah, this is a blue, a really nice blue color. So now we got a bronzy yellow, a purple, and a blue. When I figured this out, I thought this was so cool. I was like, I have to show this to the FPV community. I'm sure maybe there's a video out there or two that show how to do this in the FPV community, maybe, but you know, it's a little update. Show you guys how to do it from home. So we are on number 4. Connect positive to positive. I'm gonna dip that down. Now this one looks fantastic. This one's like a cyanish, tealish color. Yeah, this is really nice. Now we have 4 colors. On to the 5th. If you're smart, don't do this for each and every titanium piece that you have. The reason being is you can make this process so much easier if you just did a cloth, like dip inside just a little bit, do the same process. Make sure that you have a titanium bit that's touching the titanium pieces while they're in there, and just like swirl them around and they'll turn into all the same color. With the bigger pieces, if you ever find that you don't like a color, you can always sand it down. There are some cleaning products you can use as well that'll get rid of the oxidation on it. For me, especially with the bigger piece here, it's easier to sand this like that. That wouldn't take much time at all. Back to it. Now, the 5th one, I'm not a big fan of. It's almost like It looks like titanium. It looks like titanium with like a yellowish, maybe a bit of a yellowish tint, but not much, not much. Moving on to number 6. Now we're getting into a lot higher voltage, so you want to be careful. I'm just tapping out the bubbles. I always want to be sure. You can always go higher with voltage, like if I decided I didn't like the purple one that I made and I wanted it to change into this one, which is more yellow, like a yellowish gold, I would say like a faint gold, then I can do that. But I can't go from this back to purple. So just keep that in mind. Alright, now we're on 7. I'm going to hold down the positive moving forward because I don't know. It's a little slippery. The positive end of these things are just, if you do this, you'll know what I mean. Now this is giving more of a gold color, so this is better than the other, the last 2 at least, in regard to its yellow output. Okay, number 8. It's kind of like, almost like a pink, like a yellowish pink. On to number 9. Number 9. And I keep a little piece of the titanium protruding out when I have it in there, so I can tap it on the side and release some of those bubble buildups that happen. And this is more of a pink, like a pink almost turning into a purple. Moving on to number 10. This time I didn't leave the piece sticking out, so I'm just jamming the titanium on the side, whatever. It's just this titanium touching that straw. That's a no-go. You don't want to do that, so just keep that in mind. After the first few colors, these colors, for me, I'm not a big fan of. They're kind of iridescent. Is it iridescent? It's like a multitude of colors depending on what angle you're looking at it. And it's nice. But it's not really the style I'm going for, at least for my builds. Like I'd rather one of the previous colors that are solid. It's staying the way it is, and it's like, yes, I am this color. Go ahead and experiment with it yourself so you can review that. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, this one is even more iridescent. If that's even a term. If you're a car person and you like those really fancy looking cars that have all those magical colors, then go for it. It's not really my style. That's the wrap up of using the 9-volt battery. So if you are going to do this, I'm using strictly 9-volt batteries here. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you guys something cool. I need to disassemble this and put this away, and I'll be right back with you. Just a sec. Now I'm going to show you something that I do not recommend you try, and that is getting the same effect with a lithium polymer battery. In fact, I'll show you exactly how I did it, but it's a lot more dangerous, not because of the solution, but because of the battery. You don't want to connect pieces together and cause it to short circuit or anything like that, or you will get fire. So try at your own risk. Don't be stupid and all that fun stuff. So One of the things that I did is I cut the black wire shorter than the red wire here. And what that allows is for when I start connecting these wires to it, there's no chance of them connecting or touching each other, and that's just a safety measure that I use. And you can cut that down even shorter if you want, but for me, just gonna go ahead and connect that there. Connect ground with ground. Get that down. Just a few seconds, and out. And this, there's a reason why I'm showing y'all this, because this is how I did my Ayla frame. And Ayla is that nice rich purple, as you can see. And I really like that one. So that was more of an experimental one that I did. I was like, oh, you know, I wonder if I can do it with 9-volt batteries. Can I do it with a lithium polymer? And of all of them, 6S, which is what I fly. And surely enough, you can. And that is, in a nutshell, the process of anodizing. So hopefully you learned a bit. I got maybe another trick I want to show you guys. If you're still watching, if you're still tuning in, I want to show you another trick, and that has to do with if you are building an FPV drone. So I know this wasn't on your radar as something you were learning, but because the video got ruined, or the previous video got ruined, I figured I'd show you guys a cool little trick that I picked up. And this is what I want to show you here. When you have your frame, right, all nice and anodized, I'm going to leave these STL files available for you. These little plastic pieces here is the same thing that you would find covering a power or a flight controller, and this one's a little dirty, so don't mind that one. The trick I want to show you is with these two here. Now I did print these or made them a little bit thinner, but only slightly from the top one. And for these, I actually place on the outside like this. How I got them so clear, if you're wondering, is after I printed them, I put them on a glass bed, and I heated it up with my heat gun, which allowed that to be clear, like that. And the reason you do that is when you're building and you put all your components on top, you fold this in, just like that, then onto itself on top. Throw the other one on top, of course, to protect the top. And now you have a round protection of all of the components inside of the drone without having to find those 3D prints that extend from like the actual standoffs and come around the entire edge and stuff like that. So you can actually print these out super easy, super quick. Place them on the bottom of your stack like that, and of course throw all your components on top of it, fold it over, and it makes for some pretty nice protection. If you're running props out and it's kicking stuff inside here, then this is going to be protecting it, so any pebbles or any things like that that may damage some of the interior components are being protected a bit. So hopefully that helps out a bit. If you guys pick up the Atlas V3, or if you already have it, I'll have a surprise for you. I 3D printed a pretty cool mount. This is my Hunter mount, and I made it for you guys. So if you want it, go to kinfpv.com, go to, I think it's my profile or something like that, or just ask message him directly and ask him to print you this out, and I'm pretty sure he will, or I'll leave the files on Thingiverse. Either way, you're going to be able to get this file if you want it. It is for the Hero 8, it is 25 degrees, and it is Spang approved. Alright guys, I'm out. Have a good one. Night.